Seeing Justin come in on the Interface by WhenHub app, the app that my company makes. And the reason that we're talking to Justin is Justin has an interest in the app. He's also been a professional skier. Justin, you're in school now, right?
I am, yeah. I spent the last 10, almost 15 years skiing professionally. I was a half-pipe skier. And a couple of years ago, I decided to go back to school. So I'm halfway through a commerce degree up here in Vancouver. And yeah, I'm pretty keen on the app.
And you had a really interesting potential use for it. Can you explain? Well, first of all, let's talk about your skiing career. As a professional skier, you were especially, would you say it was your focus, the half pipe?
Yeah, so half-pipe skiing is a discipline of freestyle skiing. So it's basically what Shaun White does, except for just on skis. So I spent from when I was 16 until 28 when I retired last year, competed at the X Games and Dew Tour and the Olympics, and
Now,
yeah, it was just
for those who don't know what the half pipe skiing looks like, imagine this big kind of a half of a tube, and Justin's doing tricks where he's jumping up in the air and doing triple flips. And what would be the name of your most impressive trick? What would it be called?
I would say it's probably the switch double cork 1080. So you come up the half pipe wall backwards, and you do 2 flips and a 1080 rotation. It's tough to describe without seeing.
I do that every day. But tell me, I'm really curious. How do you learn to do something that if you were to do a little bit wrong, you'd be dead? Like what? How do you get between?
Yeah.
How do you get between? I can't do this at all to now I can do this when everything in between is death. How do you learn that?
You have to be a pretty naive kid to not be too afraid to hit the deck. I've definitely had some serious crashes, and yeah, it takes, you got to be kind of,
Do you have to be
I don't want to say not all there, but
well, I was gonna ask the question, when you were, let's say, in school, you were a kid, were you the one always getting in trouble?
I got in a bit of trouble.
And how about physical?
Skiing.
How about physical danger? Were you one of those kids who was always, oh, I'll ride my bicycle over that ledge. I'll jump that. I think I can.
Yeah.
I can jump from this roof to that roof. I think that doesn't look hard. Were you one of those kids?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that if anything, that type of trouble kept me out of more serious trouble. It was just, yeah, just being a kid, and then didn't really grow out of that for a while.
So then, how did skiing become your thing? Did you just notice you were extra good at it, or you just had access to it?
Well, my old man, my dad was a ski coach for 20 years, and he raised me from the time of 2 to ski, and I actually hated doing it because he made me do it essentially, and I was like, I'm not doing what you want. And then at 10, I realized that you could hit jumps because I was racing, and I saw what the snowboarders were doing and saw that it would actually be pretty fun. So I actually tried to do it myself, and yeah, I fell in love with it.
Did you have the big philosophical problem of snowboard or ski? Snowboard or ski?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of a funny story. My dad knew that I wanted to start snowboarding, and I was probably 10 or 11. So for Christmas, he got me a snowboard rental on the probably the coldest night of the winter. It was like minus 20 something Celsius, and I went up and couldn't. My hands went numb, and I couldn't do my snowboard bindings up, and I peed myself, and it was just the worst. Like I was trying to get down the hill, I had to go pee super bad. Peed myself, was just like 10-year-old kid, like so bummed. It was the worst experience ever. So I was like, I don't want to snowboard anymore. So
Now,
he succeeded in keeping me skiing.
all right, so I have to tell you my humiliating skiing story, just just to cap that
Please
off.
do.
So I grew up right across from a ski slope. Literally, if I looked out my bedroom window, I could see people skiing. But we were poor kids, so we didn't really have much to go skiing. But we put together enough money to buy me some little wooden skis, and the town would get $3 ski day, where you could go skiing all day if you were a kid after school on certain days for $3. So it was a deal. So I went up, and the first time I went on the big ski lift, I'd done the small one, but the big one, it was just faster, and it came up and it scooped you up a little faster, and I wasn't quite ready for it. So it hit me in the lower part of the back, and I was with somebody older who grabbed my hand and is holding on to me while the ski lift goes up. So first of all, I'm dangling in the air on the ski lift, and he pulls me back in. So now I'm like scared to death, and I get to the top, and I also didn't realize that it would be faster at the top than the slow ski lift I had only done, and so I didn't get off in time. So I ended up going back around all the way down the ski lift, and it happened to be the day, and it happened to be the day that it was all the kids got out early to ski. So every kid in my entire school watched me being the idiot who was taking the ski lift the wrong direction. Hey, idiot! Hey. So that was my bad
Oh
ski
man.
experience. All right, but enough about me. Um, so so how many years did you ski professionally?
Uh, 12, I guess, from 16. So I kind of fluked out and won a big contest when I was 16 up here in Whistler. It was the only international contest that I really had access to. Had the best run of my life at the right time, and from then on, I got sponsors that supported me to travel and compete. And yeah, I was pretty lucky to win that when I was 16. That kind of kickstarted my career, and then was on the national team until I retired 2 years ago.
Right. And you had an interest in using Interface, the app that you're on right now, the app my company makes. I think we've got a little Wi-Fi problem. It's kind of slow at the moment. But and you mentioned that coaching through the app for some types of athletes could be a huge advantage. Tell me more about that. How do you imagine that people could use this app to coach other athletes?
Absolutely. I mean, the first time that I thought there was a need for this type of thing, I was actually surfing in Nicaragua, and I was like, man, I wish I could just connect with a local here and get the spots. It would be like one conversation, and we'd be dialed for the whole week. But it didn't really exist. And then um, I came home, went back to school, and then I wanted to do some part-time coaching in the winter, but it's really tough to organize that because there's full-time coaches, and then the part-time coaching just doesn't really. It's really tough to organize. So, again, I was thinking that would be kind of the same idea as the surf thing, or the use case for surfing. And then I realized that a part-time, almost a mentorship role, opposed to on-snow technical coaching for sports, would serve a purpose and also give the athletes access to a lot of high-profile athletes that otherwise they wouldn't have access to. So, I mean, to take an hour out of your day to talk to an athlete if you're in the airport or something for a superstar athlete isn't that like it's doable, and it opens the doors to insights from a lot of higher profile athletes that the up and coming people wouldn't have access to. So I think if I were to use it as a mentor, as an expert, I would probably check in with athletes once a week, once a month, to see how they're doing, and not do so much technical coaching as overall kind of goal setting. How do I make it to where I want to go, and then they can work with their on snow technical coaches for the smaller goals.
So, what would be some examples of that? Would you be talking about how hard to train, or mindset, and nutrition, or tools? How broad is that kind of advice in this situation?
Uh, Pretty broad, I would say. I mean, with regards to diet and fitness, they would have, most athletes have dietitians and fitness trainers that they can talk to that stuff about. Where the athletes who are still competing at a really high level would be able to help the younger athletes is in goal setting and um, coming up with a schedule, um, and figuring out what you need to do, help you make the building blocks. So you come up with the plan, and then their other coach would essentially help them execute the plan. So you, a lot of the top athletes have gone through all of this that the young and up and coming ones have, that are going through right now.
Okay.
So it would be, so like, maybe explaining how I got to here, and I'd recommend that you do this and this. It's just advice and insight.
Give me an example of something that you wish somebody had told you earlier. Is there anything that you just think, oh man, I had to figure that out the hard way. If I could really save somebody some time. Is there anything like that that comes to mind?
I Yeah, I actually had a conversation with my hero in skiing when I was, I must have been 16 or 17. So I just started my ski career, and I was in New Zealand, and I just actually talked to him outside of a bar for like 20 minutes, and it was more the support. So he didn't tell me any specifics on like how to be successful, but it was more just like you're on the right path, more of a mentorship in terms of like support, just like you're doing the right thing, keep it up. And that's all it really took for me, just to have somebody that you respect, see what you're doing, and give you the nod, like, yeah, you're on the right track,
Oh,
and just keep
wow.
doing what you're doing. And that was just one conversation that had such a huge impact over my whole ski career. And
Wow, that's
yeah, it doesn't take much to, yeah.
I'm relating to that because my cartooning career was launched essentially by a letter of advice and encouragement from one professional cartoonist, and without that, I probably would not have, gone the extra mile. So yeah, the one conversation
No way. Yeah.
with somebody who's been there just changes everything about your outlook. I've experienced that as well.
Yeah. It's pretty, if you got some big goals, it can be, you can second guess yourself a bit. And to be able to talk to somebody who's been there, to kind of reassure you that, yeah, it's scary, and it's a long shot, but you look like you're on the right track. Or if you're not on the right track, they could give you a couple small tips. Just one conversation can have such a massive
Yeah,
impact on,
I agree.
your whole.
So, so you'll be available on the Interface by WhenHub app. Will you be on the app under the keyword ski?
Yeah, I will. I mean, there's not too many people looking for ski advice until the ski season starts. So, but yeah, I'll have it on, and I'll be under skiing
Okay.
for sure.
All right. Good. So I'm going to wrap it up. People saw what I think they need to see. So, and people who want advice on skiing, professional skiing specifically, Justin Dorey will be on the Interface by WhenHub app sometimes, whenever you're available under the keyword ski. And the app will remind you if somebody comes online who you were looking for before. So you'll have that option as well. Is there anything else you want to tell people?
Uh, yeah, check the app out. I think it's a really cool idea, and there's a ton of use cases that I don't know, I haven't even thought of yet. It's going to be pretty exciting.
And thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.